relationship, but I want to make sure too that my wife gets a release. And I've been guilty pre-save days of just wham bam and didn't care if she got it or not. And intimacy is so much more than sex. It's true intimacy between you and your loved one. And I think I need to have that conversation to make sure that I'm starting to program my mind before I meet my wife, that I am prepared to be intimate, that I am prepared to not play, not be a part of that stat, because my wife will not. And so I go to therapy with BetterHelp. And
so, hey guys, and we're talking to you guys about obviously AO and Tony Gaskins' conversation, and we're doing a part 2 because I know the first one you guys really liked it, so I said okay, I'll continue the conversation, and we'll break down some more of this particular video. I'm actually really loving it because I love the more intelligent conversations. Not saying I don't like the other conversations that we do, but I really love the intelligent conversations that we have on this channel. So I love hearing from intelligent folk, intelligent men. I love seeing these kind of dialogues happen. So we're going to break down some more of this particular video. So if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals, you got the minerals. Listen, good morning to those of you in America, good afternoon for those of you who are in the UK. Let's get into the video and let's talk a little bit more about AO and TG and get some more in-depth conversation about what men need to be doing in 2022.
Tell you the truth, when I do a video for men, they say, what about the woman?
exactly.
When I do a video for women, they say, what about the man?
Yep.
Nobody wants to look in the mirror. But truthfully, it's more women seeking relationship knowledge than men.
Absolutely.
So because I talk on relationships so much, that's why now my YouTube is 95% women. Because
so obviously we touched upon this actually in the first part. So I'm kind of going a little bit back over just over part 1 a little bit and hitting this. And he's talking about obviously the overall video is about seeking to understand women, seeking to understand the mates that you're with. And in this particular video, what he describes as well in this particular part where he's talking about his relationship audience, a majority of them are 95% women. And like I said, I totally understand that because I look at my audience, and majority, I think 85% of my audience are women, that being said, also too, I think there's even most of them American as well. So I definitely understand where he's coming from in terms of subscribership and how that actually impacts. I think I just checked mine now. Mine's actually 90% women. Wow, Mazzoline. 90% women, 9% men. And I think 0.1%, 0.1% unspecified. So that's gonna govern the way that potentially gonna hit in. It's what's the struggle for me on these things, especially, is how much do I do videos for the women on as an audience, and how do I hold true? So what I mean by that is like having conversations where I'm like, okay, I need to drop videos for my audience, for the women, but I'm also like, okay, but I also need them to know that from a male point of view, or this is what the men think. And sometimes you can get into your head a little bit in terms of how do I cater to my audience, but not in the sense of pandering, right? Because what you don't want to do is go into pandering. What you want to, and sometimes that causes conflict, because sometimes you put out a piece of information and you're like, that ain't gonna sit well with the audience, but hey, it is what it is. That's the truth. And so every man's got to find their lane in it. Do you know what I'm saying? I could probably do more in terms of hitting more towards a woman audience, but I found myself like not feeling very authentic when I do that. Well, like going down, no offense, going almost down the Derek Jackson route. I don't like that. I know my audience is predominantly women, but I don't like it. You know what I mean? I think Derek Jackson does an amazing job, by the way, and it's not a slight against him. He's found his lane and he's doing according to his lane. But for me, it's like, I believe I have a duty to tell the truth, which means holding both sides accountable. And so sometimes, holding both sides accountable means they're going to be my body of people that are going to be drawn to this channel are intellectual folk, because intellectual people think and are able to reason. You know what I mean? I'm not going for mindless people where on both women or men's side. I don't want to create the chasm between men and women. I don't want to engulf in the war between women and men. I don't want that. I want there to be unity, so that I have to hold both parties accountable. So if something's trash on this side, I've got to say it. If something's trash on my men's side, I've got to say it. If I'm learning something and I'm having to, undoctrinate myself, I got to show that. If there's stuff that I think women have also got wrong, I got to say, hey, we think this is wrong. So it's the same, holding that line sometimes means you're in the middle, and sometimes you don't get the benefits of being on one side. And I'm not saying about Tony either, because I've only watched a bit of Tony's work, and I've never felt like he's pandered, so I'm not saying about Tony either. I gave Derek Jackson as the reason because I felt like a lot of his content is generally geared towards women. So yeah, but, so I'm definitely hear what he's saying, and maybe I need to even fine tune the way I'm even coming at it a little bit. You know what I mean? There's a smarter way.
The videos are mostly on relationships.
Yeah.
So that shows you men are not even preparing to be successful in a relationship, and then wondering why aren't we successful in a relationship?
Because we're not trying to learn.
We prepare to be successful in crypto.
Yeah.
In Forex.
Yeah.
In real estate.
Yeah.
That's what everything is about.
Yeah.
Is making money.
Yeah.
Earning your leisure.
Yep.
Earning your freedom.
Yep.
Earning your, everything is about making money.
Yeah.
Trapping on, Wall Street. We sit and we focus so much on money, not realizing that you can't buy a real woman.
Right.
Money won't keep a real woman.
Right.
It's been men who brag about themselves in the bedroom and the woman leave them. men who got, we watch billionaires
Absolutely.
get left by their woman
all day long.
And so what's going to keep a woman?
And so I think this is also really, cool as well, because I say cool because I think what I see with what Tony's just saying here is that a lot of us as guys, we don't have the relational intelligence. What I mean by that is we don't value relation intelligence. Do you get what I'm saying? Because the world doesn't provide a meritocracy, doesn't provide, doesn't provide the reward, or at least we don't talk about the rewards of how, healthy relationships help us to maneuver throughout the world. And that's a really big issue, because in relationships, you really do need, not in relationship, in life, you need healthy relationships. And when people start talking more like this kind of conversation, and letting people know how important it is to have good relational intelligence and how important it is to be in good, healthy relationships, you'll realize that actually people start looking at relationships differently. The problem is a lot of men grow up around other men who say, not just who say, but who see other men prospering financially, and then don't consider the other side of it. Like, how is your relational intelligence? Like, how do you relate to people? Are you good with people? You know what I mean? Like, because all it is about making money. I want to be successful, because what we've seen is a formula. Be successful and women come to you. What has not been said is the other side of things, which is, look, let me be real with you. There are women that are going to come for you. There are women that are going to always come for you when you're successful. There are always women that are going to be drawn to you because you're successful. But what type of women are they? Do you see what I'm saying? Right? What kind of women are they? And so what we don't have oftentimes is that conversation where it's like, hey, having money, having success, having wealth, having status, having power is great. But you have to understand that the other aspect is this. What kind of woman are you looking for? What kind of woman are you looking for? If you're looking for the right type of woman, right, then it's less about the success, and although success will get you in the room, but it's about what content do you have when you're in the room. Because you can get in with the room with the talent, but the character keeps you in that room. We always talk about that particular power phrase. And so if you don't have the character, you don't stay in the room. And this is what a lot of guys don't get told relationally, because they've got the likes of Fresh and Fit out there. They've got the likes of Kevin Samuels, who passed away, again, rest in peace. We've got the likes of Red Pills and Steph is Cold, and there's a few other manosphere kind of men out there who preach that aspect. And alternatively, the same on the women's side too, who are, we don't get oftentimes, and not even saying this, but don't often get the time the balance equation too, about how to best come into a relationship healthy, whole, and for both parties to work together to reach a common goal, right? Like I always hear this conversation, and we're going to talk about this actually. It's a real conversation. I'm going to do a video clip from one of the conversations I had with Laterius Whitfield, the dear wifey situation. I said, oftentimes we hear women complaining about men that don't communicate very well. And I changed that. I said, no, men do communicate. You just don't understand. And women communicate. And men just don't understand. We actually do communicate. The issue is that we don't communicate to understand. Like if I'm talking English, but I'm talking with big words, I'm still communicating. But I have to understand the audience that I'm with, and that when I communicate certain things, they're not going to receive it. I spoke to this about a good person that was close to myself. I spoke to a good person to myself, and a person that was close to me, and I said to them, you use a lot of big words, and the crowd that you're in, when you're dealing with that particular crowd, right, it comes off condescending. And they didn't realize, and they didn't understand that, because for them, they're communicating. This is just me. And I'm like, what you don't understand is communication is about understanding. So you can communicate all you want and say that all you want, but it's about understanding. If you want an example of this, I spoke to, yesterday, I spoke to Devon from Ready to Love. Right, Devon from Ready to Love, and I saw the women were crucifying him, and rightly so. To be honest, I ain't saying that they weren't wrong. I won't say the women were wrong. I won't say the women were wrong for crucifying Devon yesterday. Okay, but what I was trying before I got Devon on the live, I had an idea in my head. I want Devon to understand that this omission is a lie. You saying about your son, okay? You not talking about your son. There's an issue behind it. I needed him to understand that. But because I already had some idea of the walls and the guards that he had already had up, I said to myself, I can't come and attack him. Not because he's a man, not because, I'm trying to take it easy on him, but I want him to understand where he's gone wrong, right? I wanted him to understand where there was a flaw in his thinking. See, so in order for me to do that, I had to communicate with him in a way that he would understand. So because I had some understanding of who he was, when I spoke to him, I knew that I had to encourage him. I had to let him know that he's not a bad person. I had to let him know that, listen, these things, bro, aside this is why you behave like this, and this is it. And I think I understand where you're coming from, but this aspect needs to change. Now, listen, he may go away and he may never change that aspect, right? But he can never be said that he hasn't been told the truth, right? Okay, so as soon as I said what I said, he said he's never heard that message the way he heard it, and he appreciates it the way it's been said. And it's very similar as well. It's very similar to how also I spoke to, what's his name? Oh boy, what's his name? The guy from Put a Ring on It, right? The guy from Put a Ring on It. And Kevin. Is it Kevin? Is it Kevin? Is it Kevin? It's not Kevin, is it? I can't remember his name, but from Put a Ring in It, and we had a real conversation too, right? And there was a point where I had to break it down to him. I had to break it down to him also to make him understand there's a part of your thinking there which is erroneous, and I had to be very careful how I coaxed it to make sure that he was able to receive it. Because the person, I want you to understand. That's the whole point. Because I can tell you off, but you've already been told off, and you ain't learned. So now I'll let them tell you off, but I want to be able to communicate with you so that you can understand where this is erroneous. And that's what we try to do. Now, of course, sometimes it doesn't always go that way, Sometimes it doesn't always go that way. But with your partner, this is what you're seeking to do, right? What you're seeking to do, and we spoke about this on our other channel, is to get to a place where you're not judging the person. You want to get to a place where you're able to communicate and let the person know, hey, look, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm interpreting from your behavior. What about you? But that takes time, and that takes energy. It takes a lot of work, and even myself, it's a lot, So yeah, it's a lot. And the thing is, a lot of times, and we can talk about this as well, maybe on our other channel. Sometimes we do want to play the victim. And the reason why we want to play the victim so much is because that means we don't have to change our ways. All right, we don't have to change our ways. And sometimes when we play the victim, it means that we don't have to change. We don't have to change our behavior, you know. But yeah, yesterday's conversation, yeah, it was good. It was insightful. But yeah, anyway, let me get back into the video because that's what we're talking about.
Woman is learning and understanding what does she need, and that's so much more than money. But we have reduced her to just being money hungry, or she don't want a man. And here's the thing,
Talk to him.
men, we got to change our labeling.
Okay.
So when you talk like I talk, you a simp,
All day long.
and that's the problem.
I get called that all day long. Tony.
That's the problem.
Oh, you a simp. You
a simp.
simping.
You a
I'm like,
simp.
what?
Right.
Because I'm being respectful and honoring and
Right.
trying to understand rather than calling her XYZ. I'm like, wait, I'm a simp. But then I just be like, huh, I'm a simp then.
Right.
But where are we getting that from?
Brokenness. Our leaders are broken men. When you look at the presidents, when you look at our top rappers, when you look at our radio hosts, when you look at our television hosts, 90% of them are broken men. Men from fatherless homes, men who have never gone to better help,
Yep.
men who have not done therapy, have not done coaching, have not looked in the mirror, have not worked on themselves at all.
So good, man.
And from there, these men get a platform, they get put on a pedestal, and they push this narrative of womanizing and making money. And then when we see y'all successful, and you're in that group, and you trying to own up and do different things and share different messages, but if somebody building a brand, right, and you see somebody like myself with 1.8 million people on Facebook, 400,000 on YouTube, 900,000 on Instagram, 300,000 on Twitter. If you building a brand and you value women, why wouldn't you bring me on your show to share what we talk about with my audience, to introduce my audience to your audience?
Yes, sir.
You the only
Because we have two different audiences, you know. because we're two different audiences. Or two different audiences. You have to understand, you know, the audiences that, you know, Tony will have a totally different audience to some of the other men, because these men that have these other audiences, unfortunately, their ideology doesn't sit right with yours. Because remember, one is built off respect, the other is built off I demand it, right? It's almost like two different parenting coming together to collide. It's like one wants to demand respect, the other says I must earn respect, right? Or I must show you respect. And it's like, because the other side wants to demand respect and women should respect, and a lot of times they're trying to literally overindulge in behavior that then becomes misogynistic. You're not going to fit in, Tony. I'll be honest with you. You're not going to fit in because your message is a problem. I've and like I said, I've been in some of the spaces as well where I've spoken to some guys like that. You've seen them come onto this channel, and you know, those who are smart, who can reason, you often catch them out, because what happens is they realize that if they're to have an intelligent conversation, they can't do what they do on other platforms, right? Like on this channel, you know, if you come on this channel, talk your talk, speak your speak. If I start seeing misogynistic tones, though, I'm gonna pull you up and be like, hey, bro, this ain't it. Like, you know, because what we want to do is make sure there's a safe space for both men and women to have a conversation, and there is none of that trying to dominate somebody. You know what I mean? But also, not only that as well, is that in order for us to be able to have a holistic idea of where people sit, we need to allow them to talk. You know what I mean? So sometimes we will get one or two, you know, red pillars coming through, and I wish we could have more so we can have these conversations. Actually, I need to find a way to get some more of these. Do you know what I mean? I need to find a way. But you know, you'll realize that as you sit with these intelligent folk, they realize they have to reason. You see, because intelligence begets intelligence. When people are dumb, dumb begets dumb. That's what the Bible says, walk with the wise and not the foolish. See, the foolish will continue to want to sit with the foolish. Those who value wisdom will want to sit with people who are wise. Do you see what I'm saying? So the reason why Tony will not get an invite to some of these channels, you ain't never going to bring Tony to Fresh and Fit. Right? Because they don't even value marriage. You know? So it's like, what you'll realize is those people will never get their invite because they don't speak that particular language. And so it's unfortunate, you know, but, you know, I listen, Tony does a great job, you know what I'm saying? And he talks some real stuff. And hey, maybe, like I said, I can try and get into these spaces where the red pills and stuff. I want to get into more of their spaces and begin to infect them slowly, you know, begin to infect them. And, you know, you can't save everybody, but if you talk loud enough, you talk big enough, you know what I mean, you can at least save a few, you know? But anyway, let's go on.
The guy that invited me on your show.
For real.
Because men are afraid of these type of conversations.
What?
The only one.
These are men then. Oh, you about to get me in trouble. I don't want to say that because I want to respect my brothers, but man, we got to grow up.
Got to grow up.
Because I desire marriage. And one thing I've always respected from you is you married, you never had no scandals with your name on it with you and your wife, man of character and integrity, and you're talking to ladies. So I'm like, wait. A married man is talking to single ladies. I better listen and learn, because if I listen and learn, he's talking to the single ladies that I eventually want to get, just one of them. I'm gonna listen and learn from a married man.
And that's the key point that he just made there, right? Anthony wants to get married. One woman. These men don't. That's the whole issue. A lot of these men, through the pain they have, by the pain they have, is that one woman I have, I don't want to give her power. So any man that's going to talk to me about how to get along with a woman, it's going to be an issue for me. Because, and I said this is men and women, by the way, but brokenness, and I'm going to say brokenness, unhealed trauma in the area of fathers and mothers, oftentimes equating to unrequited, equating to love that is not given and not served and not produced for that individual when they have a deficiency in an area of when it comes to intimacy and love. What can happen is they are drawn to people who speak their language, because a lot of these, like, let's say the men, do you know what? It's even unfair for me to keep on talking about men's side, because I've been on Cynthia G's side. Hey, I don't care what anyone says. Cynthia G be doing parts which are good, but then she be just saying stuff that is wild. And I put her in the same category at points in time as Kevin Samuels, the way she talks about black men. I'm like, sis, you ain't no better than Kevin Samuels. The very person you're fighting, you fighting fire with fire. And if you do that, you're in the same box for me. So it's like there are both men and women that have a very toxic idea when it comes to love. And the reason being is what we spoke about on our Dark Arts channel, where we said about that a lot of people, they find themselves in a space where they're trying to not get used, or they end up using somebody. So they want love, they want affection, they want intimacy, but they've been hurt in a particular way that makes them want to use people. Right? Want to use people. And so then your love becomes usury. You know, my favorite word now. You got the usury spirit in you. Okay? A lot of people have a usury spirit in them, because the love that they have in them is broken. The idea and the belief of love is broken, and it's what I need to get out of the situation. So a lot of times, both men and women, you know, because of their brokenness, they seek other people who are also on their equilibrium level. This is why Kevin Samuels was so popular, because what it showed was a lot of men wanted power, and what they didn't realize was it's because you're hurt. It's because you're broken. Okay? It's because you are in pain. And so the way you're now seeing the opposite sex is I must dominate. I must dominate. Rather than earning the respect, I must dominate. Yeah, it's a lot, man.
Man, listen, Tony, y'all better. Hey, man, all my other male podcasters, y'all need to get Tony on your show. You need to get Tony. Now, if you got drama, stay away from my brother. He don't do drama now. I know that. He done text me several times. Hey, you might want to watch this one, Ariel. I'm like, yes, sir. You my guy. I'm surprised that they don't. But you are different, though, man. You don't sugarcoat nothing. You call it like it is. And I think that's one thing I always respect about you. Me and you was texting the other day about some business stuff. I was laughing. I was like, man, Tony's gonna keep it a buck. He just gonna keep it real. But I think we need more men like that, man. And I appreciate you for you and your ministry. Let's switch it over real quick on the last 6 minutes. One thing I do admire about you when it comes to relationship stuff, man, you've built such a solid brand. I mean, all kind of celebrities. I mean, you got celebrities following you that I wouldn't even think they would follow you. You know what I'm saying? Because you a clean guy. You know what I'm saying? You ain't that hood street, but you got some celebrities. I don't want to call them, what the world may call them. But I'm like, yo, you follow Tony? How did you build the brand that you have today? What is the science behind your success in building a successful brand? Because one thing I'm doing is, you do a little bit of this too, and I'm doing this with my tribe. I'm about to release a course, teach them how to build an impactful brand and make 6 figures on the side. And so I'm curious to know from you, what's been your success system to build the brand you have today?
If I could put it into one word that probably is overused and being misused, it's authenticity.
Okay.
I do not do anything that I don't feel like doing and that does not make sense to me.
That's true.
And so you building in a different way than me is still successful because you got a full production.
Yeah.
On my YouTube, I just use my cell phone. Now I'm about to.
And I love as well what he says here about the authenticity, and that's what we're looking for as well. The brand, you got to hold true to yourself, and sometimes when you forget yourself in the midst of trying to create content for people. You want to create the best content. You know what I mean? Like my thought always, how I try to stay authentic is by what is it I want to convey to the audience, and it's always about, okay, I want the audience to get a balanced equation when it comes to a video. I also want people to also leave the video like I learned something, and so I try to stick to that format, whatever video it is. I try to add that value of, okay, let's teach something. And then when I don't teach something, I always feel odd because I feel like I've not given the value it needs. It's like, that's just a reaction of emotion. Is that really a video? Like, sometimes I find myself in that space, I'm like, is that really a great video? Because it's just an emotional one. It's not really teaching anything. And and that's difficult, sometimes to find that balance as well, because sometimes a reaction video just needs to be emotional. And a lot of times, sometimes you need to be teachable moments. But yeah, it's it's crazy. Someone says Sifa G used to support black men and they threatened her life. A lot of what she says is true and uses role stats. Listen, I think Sifa G is cool. No, I'm not gonna say she's cool. No, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna lie. Sifa G, some of the stuff I've heard, the rhetoric I've heard, it's been no better than what Kevin Samuels preached. No better. And in some sense, she's actually advocated for black boys to be killed in the womb. So, like, for me, I don't care what they've done to you. Look, there are men out there who say black women have also, been mistreating them. But if they would come out and start saying the things they're saying, you wouldn't give them a grace. I'm not giving her no grace on that aspect. Same, I'm not giving Kevin Samuel grace on that. Like, it's just ridiculous, some of the stuff that she says. It's crazy, some of the things she says. Like, it's just as bad as what Kevin Samuel's spitting, which is a rhetoric. A rhetoric that is poison. And it's the same with Kevin C. They have the same issue. Same issue, right? Same issue. It is what it is. What you think black men don't call? Like I said, they don't threaten my life. Let me be honest with you, they don't threaten my life, right? But you get this from men. You're a simp. You're this. You're a prick. You're that. You're all of this because you put videos that. When I was talking about Kevin Samuel stuff, when I was doing the AMS stuff, you getting men messaging me on the madness. I can't stop saying the truth. As in, listen, look, this is what it is. But I'm not going to start going down to the poison. I can't start doing that. And that's where Sympathy has lost herself a little bit. Not even a little bit, a lot into that aspect. You want to save black men? My sis, do the work. Do the work. Otherwise, let's stop the poison. You know what I mean? Like, that's really if you're really there to save people, then do what you got to do. You think Christians don't go through this very thing she goes through? Christians try to save people through the gospel and try to tell people, and they get told off. Go and do one. We don't like you, Christian. It happens. When you try to preach a particular gospel, people ain't always going to receive it. But if you're really there to try and do that, go and do what you got to do. But don't turn into now poison and now spew rhetoric that is just honestly, like, it's disgusting at points. But hey, her and Tony and KS, they don't continue.
I had a full production, but I just use my phone.
Yeah.
And so if you look at the difference, like I'm a motivational speaker or a speaker.
Yeah.
I work with sports teams.
Yeah.
But when you think about sports team speakers, you're not going to think about me. But I do that.
Wow.
But I don't show it because I keep it intimate. And I let them know it's about them and not about the cameras.
Wow.
But when you look at the reels, you'll see everybody reels are super polished.
Yeah.
But you look at
Let me move
the camera and he do the sound.
Right.
He does the lighting. Blueprint. I didn't want to take a course for the blueprint. I wanted to create the blueprint. But it earned over 900,000 in a year. And so when I did that, I was like, I don't have to travel as a speaker.
He's sowing into other young men. He's depositing into other young men. And I love that about him. And so I want to say up front, ladies, I'm sorry. Tony convicted me, today. Like, man, I never thought about that. I never really thought about that. Because sometimes I'll be like, yo, what about you though? Woman, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And really, as the man, it starts with us. I gotta be like, you know what, you're right. I will fix that. Help me understand how to fix that. So I could be a better man, so I could be a better husband, so I could be a better friend, so I could be a better leader. And then pray that as I'm understanding them, you ladies, you all will understand us. And I think it will, because I don't think ladies do not want to understand men. I think they just want to feel heard, seen, valued. But I think most women want to understand and love their man. But it's hard to do that if they're not being understood. And we got to, what does the Bible say? Husband, love your wives the way Christ loved the church. Husband, love your wives the way Christ loved the church. And Christ loved us so much that he died. So men, we got to die. We got to put some things aside. Pride has to die. Understand, love, be intimate, and she'll understand us.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna do it. I'm
gonna be your matchmaker.
Hey man, find me.
Hey, it's not easy out there. Listen, look, these situations, and also as well, like, as an individual person as well, I think what I always want to uphold as well is progressive thinking. Progressive thinking, because when your mind shifts and changes on certain things, when your mind shifts and changes on things, you gotta talk about that as well, right? I always talk about the fact that first dates and stuff. I didn't understand that. I was like, this is not my thing. I don't really get that kind of thing. For me, it was like, oh, first dates. I don't really, why am I paying on the first day? Like, in terms of paying, like, all of it. What does that for me? And then obviously mindset shifts and you're progressive and then you think, so actually, no, I get why you pay on the first date, right? It sets a precedence, it sets a tone, etc., right? But hey, we can do it another day. But it's like when your mind progresses, we also got to let our audience know as well, our mind has progressed. Because people are going to see the old videos and be like, oh, that's what you thought? And you think it's still there? No, our mind is progressive. Even in the Bible, it's progressive. Peter at one point thought that, it was only Jews that could get the Holy Ghost, and then he realizes indeed the Gentiles get the Holy Ghost too. It was progressive. From Acts 1 to Acts 10, he's progressive, bro. And so it happens. We grow. And so, I think this conversation was a good one because it, again, highlighted the fact that we're trying to understand women. And I think also where I believe that the balance needs to be is we're not just trying to understand women. We want women to understand men. And until men start speaking truthfully as well, I think is what I want to say. I think until we balance the equation on the table, because I'm really about balancing the equation on the table. That's my MO. I always want to be balanced on the table. Is we want to understand women, so we need to have women who speak out, and we also need to have men, and we need to have men that speak out as well. And when both parties are on the wrong scale of the side, or on the extremes of this side, we call out both, and because we want to bring them back to balance. You know, I think sometimes as men, you know, and I did a video on this earlier on last year. We spoke about it. I said, when we talk about preference, we get labeled Kevin S. Women talk about preference, it's normal. And I think sometimes where we talk about balance, as I'm talking from a male point of view, by the way, I know the men are also unbalanced as well. I'm saying that some things that I've experienced, I'm like, I look at it, I go, but then that's why we have these conversations, right? Because then we can call it out and say, actually, look, there's an imbalance here, guys. I don't know if you realize there's an imbalance here. And then it's not about getting angry and then doing the whole video, say, women are this, that. No, it's about, okay, look, there's an imbalance here. Let's talk about this. Let's address this. Let's educate in this, right? And the same way that women, the same way that you guys, we had a conversation, and that's why I loved it. And it's still there, and we can always go back to it, is Married at First Sight season 14 or 13 with Zach, with Hurricane K, and that was one of the best seasons ever, because it was a live view into how both men and women can have their backs against the wall, and it becomes a fight rather than a communication. And I found myself in that situation. You know, I found myself in that situation where, you know, I also had my back against the wall. I'm like, no, women are not going to say this about us. Why can't women see this point of view? Da, 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 da. And it became that siege mentality, right? It didn't matter if it's a TV show or not. It's about the communicational piece that both men and women need to get into, which is at times we can get into siege mentality. And like, women are not understanding us, so we're going to put our back against the wall. Men are not understanding us, so we're going to put our back against the wall. And it's like, then it becomes this ultimate fight. And it was beautiful. If you ever get a chance, guys, go watch some of our panels on Married at First Sight season 13. Maybe I need to bring them back, and I can do an actual deep dive and break it down. But it was so good to see, because at the time it was uncomfortable. I'll be honest with you, it was uncomfortable at the time, and I'm going into lives, I'm thinking to myself, nah, these women don't understand. They're trying to take man for mugs. Like, the way they're seeing abuse only for women, don't see abuse for men. You know what I mean? Right? And so it was chaos, but it was great too, you know, because it was a learning point in time, right? And so that developed to being the apology video that I did. I did 2 apology videos, and the apology videos, I didn't tell you it was not easy. The pride was there, you know what I mean? Because I don't mind admitting I'm wrong, but coming out to an apology, I'm like, what? But the reason why is because I wanted to showcase to everybody as well. That's what leadership does. See, I remember a leadership style in the home that I grew up in, where when they're wrong, they don't admit that. They don't come and say sorry. And then I was complaining about the fact that when I see that kind of leadership style and no one says sorry, how annoying that is. So I had to suck up the pride in that moment and say, let me apologize. I was wrong, guys. You guys were right. The ladies were right about this particular issue. And it's about showing and not telling. I don't want to just tell you. I want to. Sorry about that. Internet went down for a second, but you don't want to. That's what we want to. We want to go into that space where we want to be able to. We want to be able to be humble and not allow ourselves to go down a road of pride. And I'll tell you this now. It was difficult. I'll be honest with you. It was during that season was very difficult. And maybe I can talk about it on another video. I don't want to waste too much time here. Talking about that issue was, that season, it was very difficult. So, you start to realize the problems that we have as people. When pride gets us, when we feel we're right, it's difficult to come down again and be humble. But that was a good lesson. So yeah, honestly, you know, it's difficult. Yes, David, what you saying? Helping your partner in the kitchen, saying you're wrong, etc., are things we mostly never saw our fathers do, and a lot of guys make such things called simping on YouTube. Shaking my head. Yeah. Do you know what? I'll end this live, and I think I'll talk about that. I'll do a video on that as well. About the simping aspect and that because I think that's a really big issue as well to talk about. I think we're in a space where men get called simps for just anything now. Like, you look after a woman, it's a simp. It's like, yeah, it's a madness. All right, cool. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. Anyway, listen, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification on uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll do another live actually immediately after this, talking about simping. I think it'll be very important. We'll see you again very soon. Much love.